Cahokia. A lost civilization imagined standing on the banks of the Mississippi River. Not today, but nearly 1,000 years ago. The year is around 1100 AD. Before your eyes rises a massive city, filled with towering earthen pyramids, wide plazas, wooden palisades, and tens of thousands of people moving through bustling streets. You hear the sound of drums, chants, and the hum of a civilization alive with a purpose. This was Cahokia, the largest city in North America before the arrival of Europeans. Bigger than London at its height, more powerful than many kingdoms across the ocean. And yet, today, almost no one remembers it. It has been reduced to silent mounds of earth, its people vanished, its secrets buried, and that is where the mystery begins. How does one of the greatest civilizations in American history simply disappear? How can a city that once thrived with 20,000 to 40,000 people vanish without a trace? What forces of nature or of humanity could have caused this sudden collapse? The story of Cahokia is one of unsolved history, strange disappearances, and ancient mysteries that still puzzle scholars, archaeologists, and storytellers alike. Let's go back to the beginning. The land where Cahokia rose lies just across the Mississippi River from present-day St. Louis, Missouri, in southern Illinois. Long before skyscrapers and highways, this land was fertile, rich with rivers, forests, and wildlife. Around the year 1050, something extraordinary happened. People from surrounding regions began to gather here in huge numbers, forming what would become the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico. At its center stood Monk's Mound, the largest man-made earthen mound in the Americas, taller than a 10-story building and covering more than 14 acres. It was a monument of power, religion, and mystery. Imagine the effort it took. Millions of baskets of soil, carried by hand, stacked carefully layer by layer, forming a colossal pyramid of earth that still stands today. Around it rose dozens of smaller mounds, some used for ceremonies, others as burial sites, and still others as platforms for the homes of rulers and priests. Cahokia was not just a city, it was a world in itself. It had wide ceremonial plazas where people gathered for rituals, feasts, and perhaps even human sacrifices. It had neighborhoods filled with houses made of wood and thatch. It had artisans crafting tools, ornaments, and objects of trade. It was a hub of culture, politics, and religion. At its height, it was the beating heart of an empire that stretched across the Mississippi Valley, influencing people far and wide. But like every great city, Cahokia had its mysteries. Archaeologists have found wooden circles, sometimes called wood henges, that may have functioned as giant calendars, aligning with the sun during solstices and equinoxes. Imagine standing there at dawn, watching the sun rise perfectly between massive wooden posts, marking the cycles of time for a people who read the sky as carefully as we read books today. What ceremonies took place here? Were they simply agricultural festivals? Or did they hold darker, stranger meanings? We may never fully know. Yet, just as quickly as Cahokia rose, it fell. By the year 1350, barely 3 centuries after its founding, the city was abandoned. Its mounds stood silent, its plazas empty. The people who once filled its streets were gone. No written records remain to explain why. No ruins of stone temples tell their story. Only the mounds, the artifacts, and the silence remain. So what happened? Why would tens of thousands of people abandon the greatest city they ever built? Theories abound. Some believe it was climate change, floods, or droughts that made it impossible to farm enough food. Others suggest warfare tore the city apart, with rival factions fighting for power. Still others imagine disease sweeping through crowded neighborhoods, killing many and forcing survivors to flee. But there are stranger ideas, too. Some archaeologists have found evidence of mass burial pits filled with dozens of young women, sacrificed in rituals whose meaning is still unclear. Was Cahokia a city that consumed itself with violence and sacrifice? Was its religion so demanding that it tore the people apart? Or was it simply the natural cycle of rise and fall that every great civilization faces? The truth is we don't know, and perhaps that is what makes Cahokia one of the most fascinating mysteries in American history. It was here, long before the Pilgrims, long before the Founding Fathers, long before the skyscrapers of Chicago or the neon lights of New York. It was America's first great city, and yet it vanished into the shadows of time. Even today, walking among the surviving mounds at Cahokia, you feel something stirring. The silence is heavy. The wind carries whispers of forgotten voices. You wonder who they were, what they believed, and why they left. Were they victims of nature? Of war? Of their own ambition? Or is there another explanation waiting to be uncovered? What do you think? Could Cahokia's collapse have been caused by famine, by war, by climate or by something stranger that we still cannot explain? Cahokia remains one of America's great unsolved histories, a lost civilization whose story reminds us that nothing lasts forever, not even the meatiest of cities. If this mystery fascinated you, imagine what other secrets are hidden beneath our feet, waiting to be discovered. What lost civilizations remain buried in the soil of America, their stories untold? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the mysteries of Cahokia. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more ancient mysteries, lost civilizations, and strange disappearances from history. And don't forget to let us know in the comments, what do you believe really happened to Cahokia?